if there was going to be a traumatic injury at a sporting event in the world, I don't know if it would have been handled or could have been handled any better than how the NFL was prepared.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today, we've got two of the best from all season. We've got our Giants aficionado, Mike King, who said way early, we got to give Mike credit. We're not as bad as you think we are, and we just might, if everything aligns right, make the playoffs. Mike, how you doing tonight? Because you did say it. Feel good about it. Thanks for joining us tonight, Mike.
Good. I'm doing good. The Giants' third stringers almost beat the Eagles' first stringers, and Kenny Galladay had his first touchdown as a Giant in 2 years.
Yes, and Mike, I remember you saying week 4 or 5 that, hey, the Giants are X amount of games over 500. That's good enough for me.
We got the year.
We got the year. And also with us is America's favorite administrator and referee, and my close longtime personal friend, to quote me, Gene Okerlund, Robert Abney. And Robert, we're here. How are you? And is everybody 8-8?
Not everybody is 8-8. However, I think it's 18 out of the 32 teams are somewhere between 10-7 and 7-10. So, all of these, like the Eagles going 14-3 and stuff like that, the NFL is going to be working to put a kibosh on that because I'm telling you, they want it where every game on that last Sunday starts at the same time like they do in the English Premier League so that they can figure out who's going to the playoffs and who's not. And you don't have anybody, kind of trying to bail out and, tank and all that stuff. Speaking of tanking, I don't know if y'all saw this. The Texans, I have some Texan fans friends here, and they're kind of losing their mind because the Texans managed to win today and blow up their first round draft pick, their chance of getting the number 1 overall pick.
I think that helps them out.
We'll talk about that momentarily, but first, I would be remiss if the OCP didn't send their best to Damar Hamlin. One of my personal expressions is real life is real. So on behalf of myself, my tag team partner, Coach Francis, and our cavalcade of stars, we want to send our thoughts and prayers out to Damar Hamlin, his family, his friends, his teammates, and to the Buffalo Bills organization. And on a personal note, his injury caused me pause and reflection because I, too, coached a player who had a traumatic issue almost 25 years ago, and it is not easy to play a game. I had a kid who was in a terrible car accident on his way to school. I was a JV basketball coach, and my boss came in and she called me Keith, and very few people in the world call me Keith. So I knew it was something. And they had to medevac him to shock trauma and John Hopkins. And, we didn't know whether or not he was going to make it. And the last thing I heard before I went back, because we had a game that day, was we don't know if he's going to make it through the night. And it was the only time I've ever lied to my players. I got to the game and I said, all right, fellas, we're going to go. And they said, no, coach, how's he doing? And I lied and said, he's doing okay. And they yelled at me and said, you're lying. And then I told the truth. And we played possibly the worst first quarter in the history of life. And then I don't know what I said to them, but we shook it off and we ended up winning because they were inspired, and they're JV kids. They're 15, 16 years old. And we signed a shoe. We were at a local school, and we found a shoe in a wrestling room, and we signed the shoe, gave it to the parents. And luckily for us, and same thing with the Bills, the young man made a miraculous recovery, and he's actually a minister in the Washington area. And so again, I want to join the world in praying for a speedy recovery for Damar Hamlin. And I also want to commend the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals for how they handled the entire situation. As a former athletic director, Mike's a coach, Robert's been out there. A lot of times we're just out there and we have very little supports. It's just tough. But they all came in and they banded together. A little disappointed in the league's response because a little too much attention on my end, and my thoughts were on the game itself and not necessarily the human aspect of what was going on. So before we begin with the regular mischief, I'd be remiss if they wanted to, my colleagues didn't say something. Mr. King, is there anything you'd like to add to that piece?
I think it's easy to get on the NFL for the not calling right away. But the thing that I left that whole situation with is if there was going to be a traumatic injury at a sporting event in the world, I don't know if it would have been handled or could have been handled any better than how the NFL was prepared. And not just that stadium, but every stadium for every game. Things were coming out how there's apparently one person at every single game whose only job is to make sure if anything happens, that oxygen gets to the brain within seconds. That's it. They just sit there waiting. And the high quality of the care from both sidelines and how the NFL was prepared for that was really truly remarkable. So that was my takeaway. And I thought if they screw up what to do with week 18 and the coin flips, and I couldn't care less because what mattered they took care of.
Yes. Robert, again, you are an administrator, you are a leader's leader. Any thoughts you have, sir?
No, just stuff like that is that's your worst nightmare, having to figure that out. And kudos to the Bills medical staff and the stadium staff for being prepared. And I just hope that young man is healthy and able to live a full life. Playing football again, that doesn't matter. I just hope he's able to, hug his children and do that kind of thing again. That's my hope for him.
And the last thing before we move on to the playoff picture, I've got to give mad props to the fans in Cincinnati. The level of respect that they showed to that young man and his family and the situation, outstanding. That was the most touching thing because it was real fast, and I thought the fans just were first class all the way, as my mentor would say. Very classy.
And the world, because
yes,
one thing, like something happens and everyone you donate, but this person was able to pull through and got to wake up to find out the monetary support for his charity, but then just the support from the world. It was I would have liked to be a fly in the room to see that, to see someone get to find out after the fact how much people cared.
Yes. And we're educators, folks. So we enjoy ourselves. We have a good time, but every day for probably on this call, almost a combined 100 years, we've been in front of kids every day for 200 days out of the year. So yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about the playoff picture. And fans, we tape Sunday evening. So the only outcome we don't know is the outcome between Green Bay and Detroit. And speaking on behalf of the OCP, go Lions, because we want Aaron Rodgers out of this sucker. But let's start with the AFC because it's done. Kansas City is the number 1 seed. Bills will go against the Dolphins. The Bengals will go against the Ravens. Jacksonville will go against the Chargers. So let's take a look at that, and no predictions overly, but Mike, does KC have a good shot at running this sucker?
I think, yeah. I mean, they're in the list of 3 or 4 teams that I think are obviously the most likely. The problem is 3 of them are in the AFC, so that's going to be their problem. But they should only have to deal with one of them, right? So they should only have to play either the Bills or the Bengals. Yeah, so that's their advantage, is they only have to beat one.
All right, Robert, how are we feeling about KC going into the postseason?
If they don't have to play Cincinnati, they're in good shape because the
Cincinnati's
Bengals,
hot, man.
and the Bengals seem like they have their number. I think they'll probably, after their week off, they'll probably play the Chargers. Good on Jacksonville for figuring it out and putting together a great season after the year they had last year. But I think that's going to come to a screeching halt next week. I think the Chargers will beat them. Cincinnati having to play Baltimore again. Those two teams don't like each other a whole lot. And is Lamar Jackson out? I can't remember if he's out or if he may be back next week. Because if Lamar Jackson is back, that makes that game a whole lot more interesting.
So I don't know if you've heard that, but they say he has a strong chance of playing in the game. And if I'm Lamar Jackson, maybe I don't want to play. Maybe this is when I say, don't have a contract next year. But that's kind of me, because I'm a bit of a behind like that.
Who was the safety for the Seahawks that got hurt? And then as he was being carted off, was flipping off the sideline because he didn't have his contract.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do remember that. I don't remember the name of the safety.
Earl,
but
was it what? Yeah, Earl. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
It bugged me.
I don't have 0.5 here to look that up. But all right. So Bills. How are we feeling about the Bills? With the emotion is only going to carry you but so long, and then you're going to have to go play. So Robert, what are you thinking? Do the Bills have a legitimate shot, or is this kind of an adrenaline thing, or what are you thinking?
So when I was in middle school, actually, the high school football coach was killed in a car accident the night before the last regular season game. And all the coaches were out drinking and they rolled their vehicle and he was killed. And they canceled the game that week. They wound up playing the next week and they won. And then they had to play, team was ranked like number 3 in the state and beat them. So they were in the quarterfinals. They've got an opponent who managed to win their district, but hadn't won any other games. They were like 4-6 coming into the game. And the emotion of the whole situation, I mean, winnable game, and came out just flat. And you could tell as soon as the game started, they had nothing left. And I think that the Bills probably, not having the bye is actually good for them, because if they'd had that, I think that crash would have come for them earlier. I see them getting through another week. I'm not sure they can beat Cincinnati. Not after that, because I think the combination, the adrenaline only can go for so long. I think that if Cincinnati gets past Baltimore, I think they'll beat the Bills.
Mike, any thoughts on the Bills? Because we're going to go through the AFC in this segment, and then we'll hit the NFC in segment 2. What do you think about the Bills?
I mean, I think it could take them far. I think they could have went far anyway, but I mean, there's a good chance. Hopefully, he's DeMar will be out of the hospital soon, and he's going to be on the sideline, I'm sure, for all these games. And
that'll be a tough one, man. That would be like when the 72 Dolphins were on the sidelines and the Cowboys is undefeated. You weren't going to beat them that night. But it could also be the Duke situation where everybody was there and Duke laid an egg against Carolina. It could go both ways.
Good. But the Bengals have to go to Buffalo, right? And then it's like a college bowl atmosphere in the AFC Championship if they play, right? Where it's neutral
Some
site,
type of neutral site. Yeah.
that's what I'm rooting for. I want the neutral site because I think that would be a lot of fun if you have like
Wow.
half the stadium red, half the stadium a different red. That
I
could be
agree with
be a
you.
good time.
All right, let's talk about the Bengals. They are as hot as any team in the league. If I am not mistaken, man, they are on a like 7-game winning streak or something crazy like that. No, they're on an 8-game winning streak. Buffalo steamrolling as well. Robert, a couple of weeks ago, you came out on the show and said, "Hey, look, man, Cincinnati's legit. You were ahead of the curve on that. How are we feeling about Cincinnati going in? Can they make it all the way to the Super Bowl?"
Well, like as I've already said, I think that the Bills. I'm not sure that emotion can carry them all the way through, and they've beaten the Chiefs like 5 or 6 times in a row. Or
it's
something
not a
like that.
rivalry if only one team's winning.
And that is 100% correct. That ain't a rivalry. That's just you taking a licking over and over again. So I don't. I mean, the Bengals have a legit. Though all 3 of those teams have a legit shot. You know, they all have things that they need to go right. But I mean, the Bang of the it wouldn't shock me at all if the Bengals come out and go to the Super Bowl again.
All right. So, Mike, are we in agreement that the AFC is a 3-team race and we don't have to talk about Jacksonville, the Chargers, the Ravens, and the Dolphins?
I would be absolutely shocked if it wasn't one of those 3. If Tua was healthy, and the Dolphins, just because those receivers would have to at least give you like a split second of pause. Same thing with Lamar. If Lamar was truly healthy and he, like all of us think, like, why would you play? You're going to ruin your, hundreds of millions of dollars. And if we're thinking that, you have to be thinking that, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to be?
100%.
He could be going for every yard if he played. Like, I don't know. So I think it's just the 3. But as a Giants fan, I can't be surprised if another team wins the Super Bowl unexpectedly. But I'd be surprised if a different team got to the Super Bowl.
I'd be surprised too. And with that, fans, on the other side of this break, we're going to talk about the NFC and see outside of the Giants if anybody else has a shot at it. And we'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA Save Project academic monitoring service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress, as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. In segment 2, we're going to talk about the NFC wildcard games and the teams involved in it. We want to start off with the Eagles. So Jalen Hurts is back. The Eagles pretty much puttered out to the end of the season. Mike, you watched the NFC. Do the Eagles give you pause, or they'll be fine and the bye week and now they're going to be tough again? What do you think?
So the game today, Jalen Hurts did not want to take a hit. If that's the Jalen Hurts that shows up in the playoffs, if that injury is allows him to play but not be Jalen Hurts, I'd have pause for them being the clear-cut favorite. I'd probably say the 49ers would be the scariest team on paper as of this second if Jalen Hurts is doing that. Because today the Eagles weren't very impressive. The Giants were playing. They normally play some nobodies on a lot of positions. Today everybody was a nobody, and it was close. Came down to an onside kick at the end to make it even more interesting. So yeah, Eagles, are they going to be like every NBA team with a bunch of vets and show up in the playoffs and it's a completely different team? Usually that's the NBA, not the NFL. So I don't know. Usually the NFL, when you're trending down, right? So I don't know.
Robert, any thoughts on the Eagles, man? Is it their conference to lose?
I haven't been sold on them all year. I just haven't. I think that, Jalen Hurts is really good, and having that week off is going to help him for sure. But I don't know how good they really are.
He got a little bump though this week, Robert. So he got a little bump, got a little hit a couple of times, take another week off, and then he can go full bore in theory, right? Can I convince you on that?
Yeah, maybe. I'm with Mike. I still think the 49ers are I think they're the team to beat, really. Their defense has given up 65 fewer points than any other team in the NFC playoffs. They're far better than anybody else, and that's what you really want to hang your hat on in the playoffs, especially if you get crappy weather somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Although, weather can get pretty crappy in Philadelphia, I'd imagine. I haven't been there in the winter, but I wouldn't want to be there in the winter either.
All right. So you helped us transition to San Francisco. Mike, San Francisco has won 10 straight, and a certain former player of mine will tell you that they are ready. Their differential in scoring is plus 173 this season. Okay. That defense is legit. They got Hack Johnson running quarterback right now, and that's okay. Their 10 straight is 10 straight. And man, is it theirs to lose? What do you think?
So whereas the AFC, there was 3 teams, and we'd be shocked if there's anyone else. I'll say for the NFC, nothing will shock me.
Nothing will shock me.
The 49ers, sure, on paper, I think that they're probably the most complete, the scariest team with the Eagles dropping. But I wouldn't be surprised if they lost to like an Aaron Rodgers in the first round. I wouldn't surprise. They gave up 30-something points to a bunch of nobodies last week. And this week, they ended up blowing out a terrible Cards team. But late in the second quarter, that was 14-13. And I was looking at it like, I want to play the Vikings. That was pretty close. So the 49ers, yeah. But it's the NFC, and nothing would surprise me.
All right. So this is when we anger our producer, Kelly, who lives in Minnesota. Shout out to Kelly. The Vikings are going to be the 3rd seed. The Vikings have a very, very nice-looking cosmetic record. They're 13-4, but their point differential on the season is -3. They really haven't overly impressed. They have a very passionate fan base. Robert, and notice I've gone to Robert first because I know what Mike's going to say, and I want to give Mike his time. Should we even think about the Vikings, or is this the money line upset of the week that everybody's going to jump on?
I will say that I agree with Mike that, nothing that happens in the NFC would surprise me. If Green Bay gets in the playoffs and they run the table and go to the Super Bowl, that would not surprise me. Is that likely? No, but it wouldn't surprise me if it happened. I tried to talk everybody else on here into the Vikings previously, and clearly it didn't work. And I can they get there? Yes. I would not bet on that game. I'll tell you that. I'm not a gambler, but I would not put any money on that game because that line is going to be all jacked up because everybody's going to jump on it.
Yes. Guilty as charged. Okay, Mike, we have waited since the NFC preseason edition of the OCP. Your Giants have made the playoffs legitimately. Sell me on the Giants beating the Vikings. Sell America, Mike, because you are the legit Giants fan. I've known you 15 some odd years or something crazy like that. This is it, buddy. It's your time. Talk to America about why the Giants are going to beat the Vikings.
I think we're up to 18 years. The Seahawk was Earl Thomas. I looked it up.
Okay.
Let's see. So what scares me about the game is every Giants fan wants the Vikings, but every Vikings fan wanted the Giants. So I think that balances out. The Giants have a recipe that does well in the playoffs and has done well for them before. They have a defensive line that has gotten better and better and better and is finally healthy. Kayvon Thibodeau, who all year long, Giants fans were just
crushing this kid.
Crushing him. And if you watch the game, he was like a tenth of a second away. And over time, that doesn't last, right? You get better. That tenth of a second becomes strip sacks, and that's what he's been doing. And he's unbelievable. Dexter Lawrence, probably even better. That was part of the Odell Beckham trade, was the first rounder. He became the best defensive tackle in football this year, statistically. They also have Leonard Williams. They also have Aziz. So they got four guys who can get to the passer. The one thing that concerns me is that the Giants teams of the past would have four guys, so they would put everyone back, knowing that they could get pressure with those four. Wink Martindale's going to send more than four, which feast or famine. And I love Wink, live or die by Wink. But sometimes you die by Wink, when you blitz everybody on third and long. But they have that. The secondary's gotten healthy. The linebackers are terrible. But overall, I like the defense. On offense, I'm a big Daniel Jones fan. I took the approach this year. If he didn't do it and they wanted to move on, I would get it. But I liked all the things I saw. I liked the size. I liked the height, the weight, the speed, the ability to handle New York media. And he has a nice, pretty deep ball, which he doesn't get to use because they have no one who could run a route for a deep ball or an offensive line that could block long enough to throw a deep ball. But this year he's shown with good coaching what he can be. You got Saquon Barkley. The offensive line is getting better. The left tackle is a stud. He should have been a Pro Bowler. But this year, if they win, they could go on a run. They could lose the first game, and it doesn't matter. The year's great.
House money is what we like to say.
I'm good.
Money.
I'd love to beat the Vikings, but if they don't, I'm not. What is it? What is the Allstate? You're in good hands. Is that it?
You're in good hands.
We're in good hands. Shane has found nobodies off the street who come in and they're great. And Dable's coached them up. And we're coaches. I just love how they handle their business. The coach lets the coordinators coordinate. The coordinators let the position coaches run the positions. The expectations are high. Looking at it from a classroom, they expect when they have a practice squad guy that as the practices go on, they will become people who perform on Sunday. They expect it. If you expect it, it happens. And I've loved every second of it from a coaching standpoint, and they can do no wrong for me this year. I'll even say next year and the year after, probably.
I know you won't. you will turn
you're saying
quickly.
that. You say that right now. You are saying that right now.
That's fair.
So I'm going to go to the Vikings, and both of my colleagues here know one of my favorite players for all of the wrong reasons is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a bank robber without a gun. This guy has robbed from the Washington organization. He has robbed from the Vikings, and he's going to get on at least one more bite of the apple. So I got to say, Do you believe enough, Robert, in Kirk Cousins that he could be Kirk Cousins and win a playoff game? Any thoughts on that before we go Dallas, Tampa Bay?
Again,
bang, bang, steal money.
Nothing would surprise me. Nothing would surprise me. Don't bet on that game.
Don't bet on that game. I can't wait to bet on this game.
I don't believe in Cousins, but I believe in Jefferson and Cook. And they could make Cousins, they could carry his corpse through a couple wins.
Okay. All right. Finally, in this segment, Tampa Bay versus Dallas in the playoffs. You've got Tom Brady versus Dakota Prescott. My brother, shout out Rick, is a Dallas fan. My tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, is a Dallas fan. Mike, you've watched Dallas because you're in the NFC East. You've watched Tom Brady because you can't spell elite without E-L-I in the word. What do you think about this game, Tampa Bay versus Dallas, my friend? Let us know.
I mean, normally I would think Dallas defense will carry them through, but the defense has been terrible. They give up 30 points, seems like almost every week. And Dak throws a bunch of terrible interceptions every week. But the Bucs are terrible. So I think the Cowboys will win because the Bucs are really bad.
So the 20-year playoff drought is going to be over, or whatever it is that they tell us about the Cowboys.
But if the Bucs win, I'm not going to be surprised. I mean,
the Bucs are bad. They're 8-9.
They're bad. They're bad.
Robert, come on, man. What's going to happen? Tampa Bay or Dallas? What are you thinking about?
You know, I hate doing this because he's like 206 years old. I mean, he's almost as old as I am.
Don't you tell me don't bet against Tom Brady. Don't you tell me that.
Hey, he's still Tom Brady. That's it. Should Dallas win? Yes. But I mean, could Tom Brady go off and throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and no picks and leave Dallas fans crying in their beer again? Yes.
They can't lose this one, man. They can't.
If Dallas has a bad start,
they cannot lose this game.
The bad thoughts start creeping in. Same old Cowboys.
Oh, come on.
Mike McCarthy mismanages the clock at the end of the first half, and everybody goes, "Oh my God, here we go again." Oh yeah, could happen.
They trade 4 picks for Sean Payton.
Okay, with that is a perfect time to stop this. When we get back in our final segment, we're going to do strictly for entertainment purposes only items, as well as see if people will have jobs by the time this comes out. And we'll be right back on the Yacht Coaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Yacht Coaches Podcast. That is segment 3 on this Top Shelf Tuesday. I get to just pause and talk about my season-long predictions. So I had 8 picks this year, 1 from each division. And outside of New Orleans, I did pretty well. So I had Pittsburgh over 7.5. I want to publicly say Mike Tomlin is the least appreciated coach possibly in any sport, because for 16 years, he's not had a losing season. That means he had a winning season, but he's not had a losing season, and that needs to be celebrated. So I'm going to the pay window with Pittsburgh. Jacksonville, I had them over 6.5, and they won 7. Last year with Urban Meyer, that was one of the worst teaching jobs. And I've seen, and Mike and Robert have seen some bad teaching in our careers, but I have never seen anything like that. So kudos to Jacksonville. I hope you play well enough that you don't embarrass yourself, but kudos to you guys. Buffalo, I had over 11.5. They have exceeded expectations. Josh Allen's a real deal. Stop taking so many hits. And they're going to be in the mix for a Super Bowl berth. Now, did the Chargers win to make it 11?
No.
The Chargers lost?
I'll double check, but I don't think they did. I think they lost.
I'm double checking.
Chargers are at 10. 10 and 7.
Chargers lost to the Broncos. I never liked you anyway. You see how quickly we turn. Who the Chargers? They let me down like the Houston Cougars in football this season. As Mike said, they owed you more than one. All right, Minnesota. I liked them, but I didn't like them 13-3 like them or 12-4. But I liked them enough to win over 9, which they did. I like the Eagles to win over 9, which they did. And Fowler and talked to me. And Robert, I don't even know if he was on that show or not, but he talked me into doing a season-long bet on the 49ers. And I was like, man, you've been talking me into doing stuff for years. Okay, I'll put 10 down. And, hey, way to go, Fowler. Appreciate it. So that's my pay window bets. Not too bad for the season. Let's go to our regular week picks for week 18. I had Pittsburgh -2.5. They took care of business. So for the point spread this whole season, fellas, I was 10-7-1 for point spread bets. That's 56%. I'm only trying to get 53. So well done. Dallas and Washington, I had over 40. I didn't check that one, so let me look and see if I got to the pay window. No, I did not. That's my fault. What was I thinking? So I didn't do very well with the over and unders. I was 6-12 this year or something crazy like that. My 2 play of the week was Kansas City, Buffalo. I got that. And for 2 plays, I was 11-7 this year, 61%. My 3 play was Cincinnati, Eagles, and the Chargers. They let me down. So I did not do well with those picks. And my upset of the week were the Chargers. That didn't work out for me. So on the season, I was less than 53% by a long margin. But as you saw from my season-long total, fellas, I didn't do too bad. So we want to close the day with who we think won't be employed this season. So I'm looking at the AFC East, fellas. The worst team in the AFC East are the Jets. They were 7-10, and I got to think that was like a better season than they had. They lost 6 straight, and they had quarterback issues. So, Mike, you're my New York guy. Do you blame the coach? Do you blame the GM? Does Salala stay, or do you think he go?
I think he'll probably stay, but the mistake that he made, because he's a defensive guy, was the offensive coordinator to fix to work with the second overall pick is like 30-something years old. He should have and he's a first-time head coach, he should have put someone established there in that position to help the kid.
All right. Robert, does Belichick stay, or does he voluntarily leave after an 8-9 season?
At the very least, Robert Kraft needs to have a conversation with him about his offensive staff, because They don't have an offensive coordinator. Their offensive line was not very good. There was, you saw that pitchy woo stuff in Vegas a couple weeks ago where, the running back forgot that they were tied and, not that they were losing and started throwing the ball around. And that is, Belichick's teams are usually pretty well coached, and this one was not. So I don't think he's going anywhere, but I think there will at least be conversations with him.
All right, let's go to the AFC North. Does Harbaugh make it another season? Mike, what about you? Does Harbaugh make it another season?
One thing I'll say for the AFC East, there were some rumors about the Dolphins and Sean Payton and Tom Brady. Some rumors.
Hey, they made the playoffs. He got another year. I got to think. He made the playoffs.
Harbaugh will stay, and he'll continue to never use Justin Tucker, and he'll go for every fourth down. And Justin Tucker will be the most wasted, greatest player at his position in the history of football.
Okay. And I got to think Cleveland stays now that Deshaun has gotten some of his ring rust off, so to speak. Okay. So let's go to the AFC South. Does Grable make it through, Mike?
I think Vrabel's a pretty good coach. Team's going to get weaker, but I'd keep him for a while.
All right. So before we talk about the Colts, Robert, Texans, they blew a chance to be the number one pick. You've got some folks at the local tavern a little upset. Talk to us about what's going on in Texas, sir.
Well, the Texans, by virtue of their win today over the Colts, managed to lose the number one draft pick. So they'll be picking second behind
the Bears.
Yeah, behind the Bears. So combination of that, I don't even know where they look. I don't. They need so much help. I don't even know where you start with drafting somebody. They'll probably draft a quarterback because that's what everybody does.
That's why losing the first pick doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because
Bears aren't taking a quarterback. Now you get to pay him a little bit less.
Yes.
Yeah, and so
worked out perfectly.
I do think Lovie Smith is probably gone. I also
think you cannot fire Lovie this year. You cannot. The league is being sued. Okay, the league has, and I mentioned this on the show. The league is telling teams stop paying buyouts, stop firing coaches. This is a bad look. They're in litigation. So if they give Lovie this opportunity and then take the opportunity away, man, I know my lawyer can take that case.
Well, they could hire Eric Bieniemy. He should be the guy. Eric Bieniemy, somebody should have hired him a long time ago. Andy Reid's offensive coordinator. Somebody should have hired him a long time ago.
Yes.
And I don't know, but I could see that happening. I think that the Colts are, gonna say, hey, this whole Jeff Saturday thing was fun, but we need to go get the other Harbaugh. And if he doesn't want to come, then maybe we go look at somebody else.
I saved the Colts for me, Robert, because I'm irritated. Because if you recall, folks, after that first win that Jeff Saturday had, I giggled and talked about fattening frogs for snakes. And now as I look on my screen, they've lost 7 straight. I guess not everybody can roll out of bed, be an NFL coach. So I can't wait to watch them bungle this. And I'm going to enjoy myself. So, hey, enjoy that. And we're going to go to the AFC West. What is Denver going to do? Do you think Sean Payton would actually go to Denver? Mike, what about you? You think Sean Payton will actually go to Denver?
How much are they paying?
We are Hessians. We are mercenaries.
We don't have any first-round picks to trade for him. The Seahawks own all those.
Touche, man. All right. Well, we'll watch Denver sweat through. Robert, does the Raiders coach make it to season 2?
He shouldn't. He's terrible. and they should have known that he was terrible after what he did with the Broncos, but whatever. I feel like they'll probably keep him for another year and see what happens. But it's not gonna be any better. I don't know what they're gonna do for a quarterback. I don't even know who did they run out there today? I don't even know.
Man, we're just talking about if he's gonna be on the job when we get back on the air next week. All right, we're gonna run to the NFC East. Mike, the only team in the NFC East I think that may make a move would be the Commanders. Do you think Ron Rivera gets the boot? Because Sam looked pretty good. And I've been telling you about Sam all year. So what do you think?
I think he should. They have talent on the team. They underperform. Going to Carson Wentz was just a terrible decision. He didn't know his team was out of the playoffs. And even if that's true, you don't say it.
Man, he got okey doked on that.
You don't say it.
Robert, do you think Riverboat Ron gets another shot at it?
Again, I would say that I don't think he should. I think, but with them dealing with all the Daniel Snyder stuff, that may not be a priority.
All right. So NFC North. I gotta actually think everybody's safe in the NFC North. Chicago knew they were going to be bad, so I can't think they're going to make a move. Green Bay has been dysfunctional, and what's changing the coach going to do? Detroit's happy.
Lions couldn't be happier.
In Minnesota, you're 13-4 Skull or whatever it's called. So I think they're safe. But let's go to the NFC South. Who's Carolina gonna get? They called Harbaugh. I don't know if he's picking up the phone or not. But the dude that was there did better than Rule did in less time. So maybe he should get the job. Robert, what do you think?
He did do a good job. They should just let it roll.
Yeah, they had a 5-4 home record too. Mike, any thoughts?
If they go back to college, that would be just an unbelievably terrible decision. Because they just showed you why you don't go to college. Coaching in college and coaching in the pros are two different things. Nick Saban might be one of the great football minds in the world ever. In college, in the pros, he's just a guy.
Just a guy.
Easy to coach when you've got every 5-star recruit. It's harder to do it in the NFL, where in theory everyone is even. So I would not touch college. I would do what the Giants did: go to the Bills, the Chiefs. Give me someone from an organization that has the Bengals. Give me someone from an organization who knows what they're doing. Fill every important position with those people, and then hope. Which is all it really is hope.
All right. So you got to think Dennis Allen makes it to season 2. You hope, maybe. All right. That takes us to the NFC West. Arizona. That dude's got to go. I'm sorry. I break character, Mike. He's got to go. He shouldn't have got the gig in the first place. His record indicates everything mediocre. He has a great first half of the season, dies every year, no matter if it's college or pros. Get him out. Robert, am I overreacting? But I'm mad all the time.
No, we might hear about him getting fired tonight. He may not even wait till tomorrow.
Okay. Now, Sean McVay, if I recall, I think Robert was on the NFC West episode, and I said, I think the Rams' belly is full. I think Sean got his money. They got their rings. Matthew Stafford, he was Matthew Stafford for a reason. Got hot, and I think Matthew Stafford's going to be Matthew Stafford again. Does Sean McVay go out the side door and say, I think I'm good? Mike, what do you think?
Nah, they still got Donald's. He still got.
Donald had to be talked back financially, which means I got my ring, I got my money, and hey, I've studied motivation about 20,000 hours.
He's too young.
I think I'm good.
Oh, what's he gonna do?
Collect checks.
I mean, he's someone. If he doesn't think the Rams are a future, go to a big time college program where you get every 5-star and you dominate for the rest of you. That's what I would.
TV's easier than that because you don't win or lose. You just
You don't get hit. You don't have to deal with worrying about your players. Yeah. You don't stay up all night.
All right, and then the last thing, Pete Carroll. First of all, Pete Carroll is 71. He looks 50. Okay, he's got the energy of a teenager, but 71 is still 71. That's a lot of energy and a lot of work you've got to do in the NFL. Does Pete say, I'm good, or does he come back again? What do you think, Robert? Does Pete come back again?
I think the Seahawks will have him as long as he wants to be there.
Okay. So he's got carte blanche.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think he's going to be there as long as he wants to be there. Well, guys want to play for him.
They do.
And he can draft.
Yeah.
And they've got extra first-round pick that's very, very good. They drafted a bunch of studs this year, so the defense is going to be good. I don't know what they'll do if they'll keep Geno. They like Geno. Geno was good. So if they don't want to use that pick on a quarterback and they want to just make the team better, they can go that route. I think he stays for a couple. I think he does another 4 or 5 years.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, he's got the energy to do it. So fans, as we close, we got wild card weekend coming up. We're going to, probably try to tape on Monday, but I don't know if we can do that or not. We'll figure it out, and we're looking forward to it. So on behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, as well as Mr. King and Robert Abney, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the iCoaches podcast, and we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The iCoaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.